The silence that exposes everything. When an avoidant and you finally stop contacting each other, the world goes quiet, but it's not peace at first. It's a brutal psychological reset, the kind that strips the truth bare, whether you like it or not. This silence isn't gentle. It's not calm. It's not some poetic breakup phase. It's the moment when every lie, every excuse, every illusion finally collapses on both sides. And that's where we start. 1. The first 24 hours, your mind goes to war with itself. You tell yourself you're strong enough to walk away, but your brain attacks you instantly. Did I do the right thing? Will they miss me? What if they never come back? What if I meant nothing? Meanwhile, the avoidant reacts completely differently. They feel relief first, not because they don't care, but because they were drowning in emotional intensity. Avoidants run from closeness, even if it's the closeness they desperately wanted but could never handle. So in the first 24 hours, you overthink. They decompress, but don't fool yourself. This is only the surface. 2. The first 72 hours, your withdrawal hits hard. Your mind spirals because the bond was emotional. The connection meant something. You were invested. You were open. You were trying. Avoidance? They were invested too, just in a different, hidden, blocked way. But now that contact is gone, the shock hits you first. It's withdrawal. Real psychological withdrawal. Because you were the emotional anchor. You cared loudly. They cared silently. You were expressive. They were guarded. You chased connection. They chased distance. And now? You're suddenly forced to sit with the truth you've been avoiding. You can't carry a relationship alone. And that realization hurts more than the silence itself. 3. What they feel but never admit. Avoidants aren't robots. They're not emotionless. They're not cold. They're terrified. The space you create by walking away feels like pressure to them at first. A pressure to self-regulate. A pressure to prove to themselves that they don't need you. Avoidants convince themselves they're safer alone until solitude starts echoing your absence back at them. Around day 5 or day 7, something quietly shifts. Your silence stops being a relief. It becomes a mirror. They start realizing they didn't lose pressure. They lost connection. And avoidants crave connection more deeply than they ever show. They just don't know how to hold it. 4. You finally stop chasing and everything changes. The day you stop reaching out, stop checking, stop hoping they'll wake up, the entire power dynamic flips. Not because you're playing games, not because you're trying to manipulate, but because you finally step out of the emotional role you trapped yourself in, the chaser. Avoidants never stop running as long as someone is chasing. Your pursuit becomes their escape route. But the moment you stop, the moment you fall silent, their mind loses the one thing that kept them stable, predictability. Avoidants aren't scared of you. They're scared of the unknown. And suddenly you become the unknown. 5. The psychology of avoidant silence. Here's the part people misunderstand. Avoidants don't process emotions in real time. They delay. They suppress. They shut down to avoid getting overwhelmed. So when contact ends, their reaction is delayed. What hits you immediately hits them later, harder, deeper, and with more confusion. Your silence forces them into a corner they never wanted to face. Why does this hurt if I claimed I didn't need them? Emotional suppression starts to crack. Old wounds reactivate. Memories hit them unexpectedly, at night, during work, and moments of calm. Your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. 6. Your turning point, the moment you finally put yourself first. While they're still avoiding, analyzing, suppressing, you're transforming. The silence that felt unbearable at first slowly becomes a detox. A reset. A return to yourself. You start noticing. You don't feel drained anymore. You're not begging for clarity. Your mind isn't fighting for their emotional crumbs. Your heart isn't chasing someone running away. You're breathing normally for the first time in months. That's the moment you realize the truth. You were not in love. You were in emotional labor. And stepping back frees you in a way nothing else ever could. 7. The avoidance cracking point. Avoidants always hit a threshold, always. It's the moment their emotional system can't suppress the truth any longer. The silence you thought was killing you in the beginning, now it's killing them. They start feeling confusion, guilt, curiosity, longing, fear of loss, fear of abandonment, fear of repeating their patterns. And deep inside, an avoidant carries one silent belief. People always leave me. So when you go silent, it hits that core wound like a punch in the chest. Not instantly, not loudly, but deeply. 8. The space between you isn't empty, it's transforming you both. You think nothing is happening in the silence? Wrong. Everything is happening there. You're growing. They're unraveling. You're healing. They're confronting. You're building self-respect. They're facing their fears. You're finding clarity. They're losing certainty. And that space becomes the most honest part of the entire connection. Because it exposes what the relationship hid. You were emotionally available. They were emotionally guarded. You wanted closeness. They feared it. You tried too hard. They tried too little. In silence, there's no mask left. Only raw truth. 9. The invisible transformation. By the time weeks pass, you're no longer who you were. Your codependency breaks. Your self-worth returns. Your nervous system stabilizes. Your inner peace becomes your anchor. Your emotional energy stops being a gift you waste on the wrong people. You finally understand. Chasing someone emotionally unavailable is self-abandonment. And the silence teaches you how to stop abandoning yourself. This is the breakdown. The psychological autopsy. The truth beneath the silence. When the silence finally hits them and frees you. Now we get into the part most people never understand. What happens after both sides settle into the silence? This is where the truth finally takes shape, slowly, quietly, but powerfully. The silence you thought was just no contact becomes the catalyst for the biggest emotional shift of the entire connection. Let's get straight into it. 1. The avoidance emotional delay, the crash after the calm. Avoidants don't react immediately. Their nervous system is wired for distance, not depth. So when the communication breaks, they feel calm, relief, spaciousness, freedom. But this freedom is fake. It's just emotional adrenaline. When the high wears off, the crash hits. This is the moment avoidants dread. The moment when the silence stops feeling like peace and starts feeling like loss. They begin noticing your absence in their routines, the missing safety of your emotional support, the quiet where your reassurance used to be, the void where your presence once stabilized them. Avoidants don't miss you instantly. They miss you gradually and deeply. Your silence becomes a slow burn inside their mind. 2. When you stop chasing, they lose control of the narrative. Avoidants thrive on predictability. They need to know you're still orbiting them, texting, checking, waiting, hoping. The moment you break that pattern, their entire emotional system glitches. Because now, they don't know what you're thinking. They don't know if you're still attached. They don't know if you've moved on. They don't know if they lost you for good. They don't know if you finally woke up. That uncertainty attacks their deepest wound. Abandonment. When you were chasing, you felt powerless. When you stop, they become the powerless one. This is the turning point where avoidants begin feeling everything they pushed away. 3. The invisible panic. Did I push too far? Avoidants don't express fear. They think fear. Their mind spirals privately. Questions start hitting them like flashes. Why are they so quiet? Did they find someone better? Are they over me? Did I screw up? Did I underestimate how much they meant to me? Avoidants crave emotional safety, but they run from the very things that create it. Your silence traps them between two fears: fear of closeness and fear of losing you. This internal conflict is exactly what they spend their whole life avoiding. Now they're stuck facing it. 4. Meanwhile, your healing is finally happening. While they're spiraling, you're stabilizing. Your nervous system, which was constantly activated during the relationship, starts resetting. Here's what begins to change inside you. Clarity returns, emotional dependence weakens. Obsessive thoughts fade, your self-worth rises, your energy stops leaking, your peace becomes more valuable than their presence. You start liking the version of yourself that doesn't beg. You realize you weren't losing a partner, you were losing a pattern. And this is the biggest shift. You no longer need them to validate your worth. The silence becomes your space to rebuild, not collapse. 5. The avoidance memory loop, why they come back. Avoidants don't remember you logically. They remember emotionally. That means they don't recall your arguments, your intensity, your frustration. They remember how safe you felt, how deeply you cared, how patient you were, how consistent you were, how emotionally warm you were, how you made them feel understood without judgment. So after enough silence, something inevitable happens. Nostalgia beats fear. Avoidants almost always resurface, not because they suddenly changed, but because the loss becomes louder than their avoidance. Your silence forces them to accept one brutal truth. They pushed away the one person who actually cared. And that realization hits them harder than anything else. 6. The role reversal when they start chasing you. Avoidants don't chase people who chase them. Your pursuit kept their fear active and their walls high. But when you withdraw, their fear shifts from being overwhelmed to being forgotten. That shift is exactly what flips the dynamic. You stop waiting, you stop hoping, you stop checking, you stop overthinking, and suddenly they're the ones replaying memories. They're the ones stalking your social media. They're the ones wondering if they should reach out. They're the ones questioning their silence. Why? Because you pulled your energy back, and they can feel the loss like a cold shock. 7. Silence becomes the lesson they could never learn with words. Avoidants don't learn through conversations. They learn through absence. Your silence teaches them what no message ever could. Emotional consistency isn't guaranteed. People eventually stop waiting. Distance kills connection. Avoidance pushes love away. Independence isn't the same as isolation. The safe zone becomes a cage when no one is inside it with you. Avoidants need distance to feel safe, but they need connection to feel alive. Your silence forces them to confront both truths at once. 8. Your final transformation. You don't break, you break through. By now, you are not the person they left behind. You've evolved. You've stopped chasing broken love. You've stopped shrinking yourself. You've stopped over-explaining your needs. You've stopped begging someone emotionally unavailable to show up. You've stopped trying to earn the love you deserve from the start. And here's the shift they never expected. You're no longer emotionally accessible. You're emotionally selective. You don't want intensity, you want stability. You don't want potential, you want partnership. You don't want guessing, you want clarity. You don't want to fix someone, you want someone who's already capable of showing up. 9. The final truth. Silence changes both, but not equally. Here's the part that's going to sting, but you need to hear it. Your silence evolves you. Their silence exposes them. One of you heals. One of you hides. One of you grows. One of you avoids the reality until it's too big to outrun. And by the time they finally understand your worth, you'll be too grounded to go back to emotional starvation. Because silence didn't break you, it rebuilt you. This is the real journey after the silence. Not fantasy, not wishful thinking, but the psychological reality of an avoidant secure connection breaking apart. The end of contact is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of transformation for them and, more importantly, for you.